I get to do this tonight.
Carl, watch your fingers.
The first thing on the agenda tonight before we have the public hearing is to elect a
I'd like to make a
chairman.
motion.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion that we elect Carl chairman.
I second
Are there any other nominations? All those in favor? You're elected chairman.
Oh, wait.
It's only natural.
Yes.
It's only natural.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. Did you get another? Did you get a new one tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay, first
Turn
order.
on that little button. When you talk, you can, no, the one down below. Turn on that little green one, and we can hear you.
Other
First
than
order of
through the
business
speaker.
tonight is a public hearing for the Dollar General store on Route 1. If you'd like to come up and make your presentation to them this time, it's to the audience. There's an easel on the floor there, if you want to use it, Rick. Oh, there's one right here too, all set up. Oh, even better. Yeah, well, I have a look on it.
All right. Thank you for having us tonight for your public hearing. My name is Matt Casey. I'm with the Surrender Group. We're the developer for the proposed Dollar General at this location. With me is Chris Netto with Novus Engineering. He's our engineer for the project. So what we'd like to do is just give you a quick overview and then really open it up for questions if there are any. I'll talk more about this, a little bit about the site, but more about the operations of the store, and Chris can really get into more of the nitty-gritty technical engineering of it. But where we're located here is right on Route 1, and it's Ship's Chow, the convenience store next door. We're not taking the Ship's restaurant judgment. The idea is that we're going to be sharing a driveway between the two parcels, and Ship's will be using that as well. So drive access is going to be consolidated down to one location. Dollar General is going to take the existing convenience store, raise it, and build a brand new 9,100 square foot retail building. With that, the parking lot is designed to accommodate all the cars required for the Dollar General. Truck deliveries are able to be accommodated on site. The truck is able to circulate down the main driveway aisle, pull in, back up to the loading doors, and back out again. So there's going to be no deliveries out on the roadway. Parking lot lighting itself. There's parking lot lighting and there's building lighting. The lights come on half an hour before the store opens and turns off half an hour after close. So you don't have lights burning all night long. Especially the parking lot lights have we call cutoff shields that are going to drive the lighting downward as opposed to just spilling out towards the property lines themselves. The store itself is open 7 days a week, typically 8 to 10, but those hours get adjusted depending on business. So for example, if at night they're not seeing clients, say past 9:30, they may start just adjusting the closing hours back like at 9:30, 9 o'clock. That'll happen probably after about 6 months of operation. I'll figure that out. The store itself employs between 8 to 12 people over 3 different shifts. Additional employees are brought on around the holidays or busier times of the year. I'm trying to think of what else about this store. So the one thing that I do want to convey, and sometimes it is a little bit of a misperception of what Dollar General is that it's not a dollar store. It's not everything in it is a dollar. And it's not knockoff product. Okay, that you're not going to recognize the names. The majority of the products in the Dollar General are brand name products that you can recognize at most of the other retailers like a Shaw's. products from Procter & Gamble, Duracell, things like that. And when it comes to pricing, as I mentioned, it's not everything is $1. There are items in there for $1, but it could be items upwards of $30 to $40. What it really is a convenience store. So when you walk into the footprint of it, probably about 30–40% of the floor area is designated to grocery uses. There are cards, for holidays. There are, baby products, cosmetics, over-the-counter pharmacy, things like that. So it really is a convenience store, not just a dollar store. So, with that, I know it's a 30,000-foot view of the project. I can turn it over to Chris to maybe go through a little bit of the engineering.
So actually, the property is two separate properties. And there's actually 4 driveways right now. It's really almost like one big driveway, but a couple of small areas of curves. So really, it's 2 properties. It's the existing convenience store and then the restaurant. And we're going to subdivide off about a 1.4 acre parcel. Everything else goes to the owners of Ship's Chow. And we're actually consolidating the 4 driveways into 1 driveway for both businesses. So it'll be a shared driveway, sort of in the middle of the site, almost right in front of where the convenience store is now. And the folks from Ship's Chow will be able to access through here. And then the Dollar General folks will access the parking lot. This will be closed off by landscaping and perhaps curb, depending on what DOT wants to see. We are hooking into municipal water and municipal sewer, overhead electric. The store will run on propane, so there'll be an underground propane tank out back. Matt mentioned we've designed the site so the truck can come in and back into the loading area. On average, typically it's one large truck delivery a week, and then smaller package trucks during the week for more perishable goods like milk and bread and whatnot. We have designed the site to collect and treat stormwater. Right now, everything just comes off Route 1 and runs straight back right through this big gravel parking lot untreated. So we're actually, this big green area here is going to capture all the stormwater from both the parking lot and the building itself. That'll get treated, and then it'll be released out back. So there's actually a wetland out back, and we do have a permit to fill just over 10,000 square feet of wetlands. We got our state permit last week and our Army Corps of Engineers permit the week before that. We're still waiting for a stormwater permit from Maine DEP and a driveway permit from DOT, but we expect those within the next week or 2. Matt, maybe you want to touch on construction time frame.
Sure. And one other thing I think I glossed over that I'd like to show you is we've upgraded the front of the building on this too. So it's not a prototypical Dollar General. We recognize where it is in the community. So what you're seeing on the front plane here is it's a brick and stone look it's a full window on either side with awnings on it. So it's going to look like glass with awnings. But you're just not going to be able to see through into the building itself. You will be able to see through the front doors. So what is a prototypical Dollar General is basically just a black front with panels on the side. This is an upgraded front with a deeper colored wall panel on the side. So it's going to look a little bit different. Construction-wise, if all goes well and we can receive our permits fairly quickly, ideally, we'd like to break ground in June and be able to open the store really at the end of September, beginning of October.
And perhaps warn you ahead of time, we may be cutting some trees, or the property owner may be cutting some trees. That doesn't mean construction's starting yet. We just There's an endangered species along the North American long-eared bat, which you're not allowed to cut trees between around April 15th and August because they're possibly considered roosting trees unless we do a study and figure out there were no bats there. So we have to work outside of that time frame for cutting trees down. So if you do see trees being taken, that doesn't necessarily mean the project's starting yet. It's just trying to cut the few trees that are there before that window opens up.
Other than that, I have nothing else to add for the presentation, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Any questions from the audience?
So the building itself is going to be back a little from Route 1 and then over to the left a little, right?
Yep.
Is that-
Yeah, the building setback is 75 feet from the right of way.
It's almost, if you were to go, if you know where the Schitt's Chow Hall is, if you were to look at the back of their building, that's almost at the plane that the front of this building starts.
That's what I thought. Thanks.
Anybody else in the audience? On the board, Buster?
When you had this for the runoff on the water, you built this thing, I've looked at it and everything, okay? Now, you just said that that's gonna go into that and then the spillover goes into the wetland
That's right.
down back.
Yep.
How much spillover is gonna go into that other than in here?
Anytime actually, this is gonna drain completely, so all the water that makes it to the pond will go into the wetland. Well, there is a small amount that'll infiltrate, but the pond is designed to fully drain down. It's not designed to be a wet pond. So the water basically is throttled back, slowed down. It's treated by the vegetation and then it's released slowly into the wetland.
Okay, now the wetland, you're talking about more water running, you're gonna pave that, right?
That's right, and that's what the pond does, is
Yeah.
it slows that down to the pre-existing rates before anything was paved or any roofs were there. We throttle it back to let it out slowly.
Okay. Now, when you're gonna dig out down where that drops into the wetland some for it to run off?
We're gonna actually run a pipe that goes underneath the
Okay.
driveway, There's an outlet pipe that will run underneath where the truck turns in here, and
Yeah.
that'll drop into the wetland. So we'll run that pipe right into the wetland area.
So there's gonna be lots more water going in, other than this don't absorb it, it goes into the wetland, it goes down in the wetland?
That's right, it does. I wouldn't quantify it as lots more, because, a good majority of the parking lot is there now. But yes, there will be an increase of volume going into the wetland
Yeah.
for anything that doesn't infiltrate through the pond.
Okay, you're gonna run sites down through there where that's running?
I'm
Because
sorry.
if that blocks up there, it's gonna run either one way or the other, it's not gonna stay there. It's got to run off.
Yep, right. My understanding is that as it flows to the east, and all this water in the housing development all heads towards the east. And eventually into the brook, which is not showing up. I think the brook comes down through here.
There's really not much of a brook, it's just it is a wetland.
Yeah.
But is there anything about having like a drain off of there, like the tiles or anything, the round tiles or anything that?
You mean down in the wetland?
Right.
No, we can't, we're not allowed to do any work in the wetland other than what our permit says we can do to prepare the area for the building pad and the store. So no plans to get into the wetland to lower the water or drain it out. I don't expect a significant amount of water. I mean, you've already got a lot of Route 1 running right through to the wetland and all this big parking area. I don't expect that the volume change is that significant.
So that's gonna build up so that you've got it so it runs back into it instead of running over, and because you're low, about 2 or 3 feet. Don't look it, maybe you gotta be low from the Route 1 down through, right? You're gonna
Well,
build that up.
that's at least 15 to 20 feet lower than Route 1.
Oh, okay,
That
yeah.
wetland, it's down there. We actually have to fill over 10 feet
Over
in
here,
the
yeah.
parking area to get the store up to Route 1 level, and then it drops down into the wetland about 10, 15 feet.
Yes, Jason?
I've got several questions. I'll start with the design. Now, is that the original design you picked for Wiscasset, or is that you said you changed it?
For the building?
Yeah.
Uh,
The facade of the building.
I think we submitted that. I think it's part of your package.
Is it? I never saw
Oh,
a picture of it.
We did upgrade it since the original submittal?
I thought
Because I don't know if we
said-
included, now that I think, I don't know if we
I don't,
included
there's
a
no
building
picture of the
elevation.
building in here at all.
Yeah, we may not have included a
How
building
many
elevation.
designs are available to you for this? Or how many designs does Dollar General have for different towns?
They have a prototypical design, and then we tailor it as needed.
And how often does that happen, the tailoring where people want it to, towns want it to look different than
It would be
what you
done-
normally see?
It would be done by a town code, if there is a code required. We're trying to more fit in with the character of the area.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Exactly. And this is the design that you chose
That's
to
correct.
fit it.
That's
How often do you use this design?
We probably used it a dozen times.
In Maine or
Pipe
different parts? Do they
Pipe
vary?
throughout the US. I can't tell you how many times we've used it in Maine or.
Right, I'm just curious if there's like, you get the easiest, cheapest design through, you do that, or you upgrade?
No, the easiest, cheapest design is not that.
It's not that one,
That's
right?
correct. I mean, that design is closer to what you might see a building that we did in Freiburg.
Right. What does it mean on the second page here, or it's in the traffic access of your thing here, the 50 or more will not, the proposed project is not expected to generate 50 or more peak hour trips. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so a peak hour trip is basically equals one car in and one car out. One trip would be one car in, one car out.
Per hour.
No, that's at the peak hour, which is in Dollar General's case is usually noontime on Saturday.
So one's always leaving and one's always coming in.
So the 50 is, we don't expect to generate more than 50, so that would be 50 over the course of the hour during the peak hour. So between 12 and 1, you wouldn't expect more than 50, 25 in, 25 out. Just 50.
Right, because I was wondering about that with all the other buildings on the stretch. How many people are trying to make left turns out of the parking lot? I mean, every business has that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I can say is DOT reviews that.
Right.
That's part of their permit.
Let's see what's next here. On the jobs you
So
use.
just
Okay,
to,
go
sorry,
ahead.
didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right.
But we're combining, what DOT does like is we're combining 4 driveways into a single driveway. So we're eliminating 3 other potential pinch points
Right.
for people coming out.
Now, does that include, now that you said that, does that include the people that may or may not be coming out of Ship's Chow Hall?
Yep.
That's part of it?
Yep.
Part of the calculation. And the jobs you mentioned, are any of those full-time jobs with benefits?
Yeah, 2 to 3 of them are.
2 to 3.
Yeah.
So everybody else is, well, part-time, obviously. The retention pond, is that the size it has to be? I mean, that concerns me, this big pit between the 2 things, and they have to drive around the pit. And it just seems like it's gonna be very unsightly.
Yep, it's only about 3 or 4 feet deep, and it's
Right.
not so over the course of,
But it's the length of the,
30,
pretty much
40
the
feet.
property.
it's the length of
Goodness.
the building. Yeah, so this green area right here. And it slopes down gradually,
Right.
at a 4-to-1 slope. It's only 3 or 4 feet deep. It's gonna be grass and.
It's all grass inside, okay.
And we will have guardrails around it, so no real.
Drive in.
Right, exactly.
And Chris, that was done to meet code, correct?
Yeah, we designed it for a particular storm event, and so we
Right.
have to make enough volume available to detain that 25-year storm event.
Right.
So it is scientifically sized, actually. And-
Okay, I just wanna know. And then, since you brought it up, I'm really curious about the bat. What kind of bat did you say that was?
The northern long-eared.
Yeah.
Northern long-eared bat.
It's not that it's specific to the site, it's a requirement.
Right, so that's what that led to that. Do you suppose there's a bunch of these bats in there? You just have to.
No, you just have to, you can't clear past a certain time, that's why you would need to take it down.
That's any project. Any
Yeah.
project that requires a federal permit, because we have a federal wetlands permit, they then restrict us to cutting trees, unless we did a bat study and showed there weren't any chance of any bats being there.
Have you ever had to do that in Maine?
I haven't had to do it in Maine. We've done it at a couple of sites in Vermont, but they had caves. They were mine sites, so it was no question that there were living quarters for bats. So.
Right. So these are if they're there, they migrate in and out.
Yeah, right. They roost in the trees in the spring, raise their young, and then they fly into caves or barns or attics of houses, and that's where they live.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, I should close the public hearing at 7:23. And we will resume the regular meeting with the minutes. And those are the minutes of February 11th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? One abstaining. Two abstains. Two. All right. Guess who's back up? My understanding, the site walk was scheduled for February 7th. I know the site was marked, because I looked. Al?
I went to the site walk with Jason, and it was marked out pretty what he needed to do. My only surprise was that they were putting the building so far to the left on the property, which means they're gonna haul in a ton of fill to fill that whole corner of the property. But other than that, it's what it says it is.
Do you happen to have that figure? How many yards of fill?
It's 4,000.
Yeah, it was closer to 4,000.
4,000 yards. Yeah. So, and what we're doing to try and minimize that is we've engineered a slope that's almost vertical. It's 1-to-1, and that's done in a controlled manner. And then they have what's called a geogrid that actually holds it up. Instead of a retaining wall, it's held up by this fabric that gets buried back into the slope. So we've reduced the amount of fill and the amount of wetlands filling that we have to do by using that engineered slope.
You have given us some additional information which did not arrive in time for our practice.
Yeah, so we were asked at the last meeting to provide a letter from the fire department, which we have an email in there from the fire department. Letter from sewer, which we got an email from the sewer department, and then we did get a letter from the water department. Additionally, we provided copies of our permit applications. You'll see the main DOT permit application in there, the DEP stormwater permit application, and when we sent this, we didn't have our wetlands permit yet. We had our federal Army Corps permit, which there's a copy of in there, and we provided a copy of our main DEP wetlands permit. We now have that main DEP wetlands permit. We just got that last week. And then just an updated set of drawings that really reflected changes that were made internal to Dollar General. They really nothing significant that anybody would even recognize.
But they have the same cover date as the original, January 19th.
Yeah, and then there's a revision note underneath it that says it was revised on March.
Yep, small. And we have full-size copies, right?
Yes. You submitted one full set.
Well, I think the first order of business is a ruling that the application, if the application is complete. I would entertain such a motion.
I'll make that motion, that the application is complete.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? We've had the public hearing. Does the board want to go right into the review process or postpone with that for review process? All right. Starting anywhere, who wants to speak up? You have a question or something before we get into it? Were the abutters properly noticed for the second hearing? I looked at you because I see that your name is on, listed as an abutter.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I have,
Confirm
I
that.
have copies of all
Yeah,
the
thank you.
return receipts that were
The second time.
the second.
And we apologize for it having to be done twice. All right, well, one of the things I have is section page 216, which is our policy site plan review. I'm not sure right now, headings looks like 9, 2, and heading H. It has to do with the width of the access way, and it's not peak hours, it's trips per day. I'm sure as a business owner, you want it to be more than 100 trips per day between the two businesses.
Typically, these Dollar Generals run, is it 92? Is the study that was done, is that average daily? It is under 100.
Yeah, it is under 100, I just don't know the exact.
Yeah, we've had studies done on typical Dollar Generals, and the average daily was just under 100 trips a day.
Okay, but you're sharing this driveway, so the application with the restaurant, so I would say you're going to be over 100, which means your access way apparently should be between 30 and 60 feet wide, and it's 31, I believe.
Yeah, there's an incoming lane that's about 12 feet and 2 outgoings that are probably 11 feet, so I'm thinking it's a little bit wider than 31. Let me check.
I was looking, I planned to look at it, I was quickly gathering this from the maps.
So on C3, it is dimensioned as 31 feet. And then it flares out from there to allow the truck.
And not so much for you, it will be for the board to decide that our ordinance is fairly unclear in that area, other than if it's less than 100 trips, it should be greater than 30, but if it's 100 or more, it should not exceed 60.
Well, if their average is 92 and the restaurant is there, they're gonna be over 100.
They're going to be over 100, so it, to me, should be fairly wide, but obviously not more than 60. But our ordinance is unclear of what that number is. 31 is obviously over the minimum stated in subsection 1. You said, without looking that up, what were the travel lane, how many width in and out?
I'm sorry?
What was the
One in, two
width
out.
in and out again?
The in is 12 feet, the outs are 9 and 10. But if its most narrowest throat of the driveway, it flares out once it gets to the highway to allow the truck to make that turn.
It's hard to tell on here, but that's probably not even a. That's 10.
I can show you the bigger.
Yeah, it's probably not even a go of 20 feet, that it's that narrow. It's not even that. Obviously, it's a point because it's a radial on the other side. Disclosure to the board, and want it wider than 31 feet.
Do you have the room to bring it up to like 36 feet there?
Yep, we can do that.
I think that'll keep Carl happy.
Well, and it has nothing to do with you. You obeyed the standards.
Yep.
But what's the #1 selling vehicle in the United States?
Number one, I don't know, Ford F-150?
Ford 150.
Yeah.
How wide is a Ford 150? What's the size of it?
seven and
Yeah, you're right there.
quarter, seven
Yeah,
and a half
it's-
by
it's roughly 7 by
16
7 by 20.
feet? 20, yeah.
And so we're gonna put a 7-foot wide vehicle into it.
With
Nine
cars
foot
turning
wide
in, if you
space.
add a couple of extra feet, it's gonna just,
In other
Slow
words,
traffic
folks,
a
I think we
little
need
easier
to
because
revise
it's
our
routed.
traffic standards.
Okay.
They only did what we did, but I think the city should, as having pulled into, not necessarily Dollar General, but any of these recent stores in my Tundra and go, I can't get out, especially now. It gets harder.
Well, that's really
And I don't
common.
qualify for handicap.
You try to back out of a lot of parking lots now, there's really almost no room. Very,
And half the time in my truck, I'm like, okay, I'm all the way in, but part of this truck's still sitting out in the driveway, so.
I do like that there's parking on one side,
Yes.
not on the back too.
I was gonna say that this is much better than what we have there now.
It's an improvement. And
Very
we're just trying to make it
dangerous.
as better, and so it's, I can tell you, we can't force you to, but we would appreciate a
Yeah,
little lighter.
I don't think that's a problem at all.
You know, one other thing I really had was, you mentioned connectivity. There's nothing in our ordinance that forces it. I don't think it's a topographical restriction. I've looked at that, that's not serious. You could go straight through your area that says no curb, but it does require you to have an agreement with the neighbor,
Yeah.
and we can't force you to do that. And the one case that I remember this where it came up, the abutter said no. The original owner, remember, said yes, but then the property changed hands while Napa was going up. So,
Yeah, we're doing that more for DOT's purposes that they wanted to see some driveway closures there.
yeah. Well, that's the closures, but the town would like to see people being able to move from shopping to shopping without going back on Route 1.
Oh, okay, I see.
So this is
we
like
are-
connecting to the
Oh, I see what you're saying.
property to the south.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you're
It's a
saying.
business, but unfortunately, you'd also be going right, they have, my memory is they have fairly limited parking, you'd be going straight into it.
Right.
Not practical.
yeah, and there's gonna be a height differential that even after they've hauled in this
Yeah, well,
4,000 to 8,000 yards by the time they're done.
they do have to bring it up to some there, but right now the ground's relatively level, so. All right, so the first thing in my mind is beginning formal review is they've asked for a waiver on our slope requirement, wrong document, original set, where's that? Did I put it on the for the slope of the driveway, isn't it?
That's
I'm
right.
trying to find it. And it is, we have what, less than 5, is that? There it is. No, there's approximately 5% and the ordinance says 3. Can you tell us approximately how long the 5% grade is?
It's just in the throat of the driveway itself, so.
23 feet. That.
Probably more like 40 feet. Yeah, it's coming in and going out where the,
I would entertain a motion to accept or reject, but accept the requested waiver.
I'll make a motion, we accept the requested waiver to the slope.
Second, is there any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. Now we go through the site plan review criteria. I believe that they've answered the questions adequately. And if somebody else so agreed, we could waive the reading individually and collectively approve them.
I make a motion to waive.
Second,
Any discussion?
Do what exactly?
We're waiving going through each line by line of the review criteria because they have met the written statement. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? And approved. That leaves one motion.
I make a motion, we accept the application as complete pending the approval of the remaining state permits.
All those in
State and federal, excuse me.
discussion? All those in favor? You found it complete, not approved. Hmm?
Right.
Very good. Do we want to make an approval pending? Do we now know
Pending,
who
I
it
said
is?
it pending the approval of the state and federal
You
permits.
said, I thought it was,
That was, you said it was complete pending now, but you need still a motion to approve pending the receipt.
Okay. I make a motion to approve pending the receipt of the remaining federal and state permits.
second? Again? Any discussion? Yeah.
I don't know if this is the time, or what, do we know how much they're going to pay in property taxes to the town? Is there any way to know that?
You have an estimated value of the completed store?
Probably the whole, we haven't done we haven't done that analysis, but the overall project is probably about 1.3 million between land and building.
More than we're getting now.
1.2.
A lot more than we're getting now, I might add.
I don't think we can do that until the building's up and the appraiser has gone out.
And it's not actually part of our review process of,
It's a question.
Yeah.
it's a legitimate question, but it's not part of the review process.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? I don't think that leaves any for abstentions. Jason was opposed.
I'm opposed.
The approval.
Of the project?
Yeah.
Motion carries. Once you have all your permits, see the code enforcement officer for your building permit.
Excellent, and thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
It was interesting, the town received a letter from somebody who said that they would like to see this come under the condition that it has the bus stop. Seriously. That it should be conditional upon the bus stop, which I love.
Thank you. Thank you.
True.
All right. Does anybody else have any further business for the board? Al?
I would like to make a motion that we have the secretary send Ray Soul a letter thanking him for his many years of service on the board and as the chairman of the board.
I would second that. Any discussion? Objection? All those in favor? You brought up at least one member. Should we appoint a vice chairman? Maybe I can tell you right now, I'm not here in July.
You're a lucky
If
guy.
I do my, if I have my way, I'm not here in July, and even the first week of August.
I think we ought to, because sometimes if we have a meeting and the chairman can't come without notice ahead of time.
We always wind up appointing somebody at that meeting.
Board's pleasure, leave it the way we have it, or appoint a vice chair?
You appoint somebody.
Huh?
I think you ought to appoint
You
somebody.
think I ought to appoint someone?
Yeah. I said, I think we ought to.
Oh, we?
I said we, I didn't say me.
No. Would anybody like to volunteer?
I'd do it if you want me to be here, but I wouldn't be here. So I think I'd like to nominate Jason.
We have a nomination of Jason, is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Jason's now the vice chair. Not in the ordinance, we have the right to do it because we have the right to
All right.
our own procedures.
Are we gonna come up?
You sign it.
Thank
I
you.
believe.
You sign it.
Thank you, everybody, for your confidence in electing
I
me.
make a motion. Adjourn.
I make my favorite motion at 7:42 that we adjourn.
And I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? You're in favor, let's hear it. You're not in favor of a short meeting. 7:42, including
What?
Wait, when he's gone, gotta push the tape.